My boyfriend has almost completely lost interest in sex. What should I do? It had been 2 years, a break in between, and here we were again, my boyfriend and I, back together for a second shot at love. Our first go-around was filled with ups and downs, like any relationship, but this time felt different, better, more mature. It seemed like we had both grown from the experience, learned from our mistakes, and were genuinely trying to make it work. Let me take you back a bit. We met through mutual friends, and our chemistry was instant, electric even. There was never a dull moment between us, and our physical connection was as strong as our emotional bond. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. It was like we were constantly on a honeymoon phase. Sex was a daily ritual, something we both looked forward to with fervent anticipation. But life, as it often does, threw a wrench into our gears. Work had become a stressor for him, a constant source of frustration. He'd come home late, exhausted, and more often than not, he just wanted to collapse on the couch. I noticed the change in him immediately. His once vibrant personality dulled, his laughter less frequent, and his desire for intimacy dwindled. At first, I chalked it up to his job. It made sense. Work stress can kill a sex drive faster than anything else. I tried to be supportive, giving him space and time to unwind, hoping things would return to normal once the storm at work passed. Months went by, and while his work situation improved slightly, his libido did not. It was puzzling and concerning. His mood lifted somewhat, he wasn't as irritable or withdrawn, but the spark in our bedroom remained conspicuously absent. I kept hoping for a shift, a return to the days when his touch sent shivers down my spine, and our nights were filled with passion. I decided to address it gently, not wanting to pressure him or make him feel inadequate. The last thing I wanted was to add to his stress. One evening, after a quiet dinner, I broached the subject. "Hey, can we talk?" I asked, my voice soft but laced with apprehension. He looked up from his plate, a hint of worrying in his eyes. "Sure, what's on your mind?" I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I've noticed that. Well, things have changed between us, especially in the bedroom. I know work has been tough, but I just wanted to know if there's something else bothering you." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know. I guess I've been in a weird headspace lately." I nodded, trying to be understanding. "It's okay. I just want to make sure you're all right and that there's nothing I'm doing wrong." He reached out, squeezing my hand reassuringly. "It's not you, I promise. I think I just need some time to sort things out." His words were meant to comfort me, but they left a lingering doubt. Was it really just stress, or was there something deeper, something he wasn't telling me? As the weeks turned into months, the distance between us grew. Our once vibrant sex life dwindled to a mere shadow of its former self. I tried initiating, hoping to rekindle the flame, but he often turned me down gently, or worse, simply ignored my advances. It hurt, more than I cared to admit. One night, as we lay in bed, I tried once more. I slid closer to him, my hand resting on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Do you remember when we couldn't keep our hands off each other?" I whispered, my voice tinged with longing. He turned to face me, his eyes clouded with a mix of frustration and sadness. "I do. And I miss it too. I don't know what's wrong with me." His words pierced through me. It wasn't just about work or stress. Something else was at play, but what? I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something he wasn't telling me. The issue gnawed at me, consuming my thoughts. I couldn't help but wonder if it had something to do with me, with how I looked. I had always been on the thinner side, underweight even, and he had mentioned before that he worried about my health, but was that all it was? I decided to confront the issue head-on. One evening, as we sat together on the couch, I mustered the courage to bring up my concerns. "Can I ask you something?" I began, my voice trembling slightly. He looked at me, his brow furrowed in concern. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. Are you still attracted to me?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy and charged. He looked taken aback, his eyes widening in surprise. Why would you ask that? He said, a hint of defensiveness in his tone. I can't help but feel like maybe it's about me, about how I look, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He sighed, rubbing his temples. It's not that simple. Yes, I worry about your health, and yes, it affects how I feel sometimes, but it's not just about that. I felt a pang of hurt at his words, even though I had braced myself for them. So, you don't find me attractive anymore? He shook his head, reaching for my hand. That's not what I'm saying. I still love you, and I still find you attractive. It's just complicated. There's a lot going on in my head, and I don't know how to explain it. His response left me more confused than ever. I wanted to believe him, but his hesitation and the way he avoided eye contact made me doubt his words. Was he just trying to spare my feelings, or was there something more to his reluctance? The uncertainty gnawed at me, and our relationship felt like it was teetering on the edge of a precipice. I tried to focus on the positive aspects of our relationship, the moments of laughter and connection that still existed between us. But the shadow of our dwindling intimacy loomed large, casting a pall over everything else. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself obsessing over the issue. I scrutinized my reflection in the mirror, wondering if I was indeed the problem. I tried to put on weight, hoping it would make a difference, but the results were slow and frustratingly minimal. One evening, after a particularly awkward attempt at initiating intimacy, I broke down. I couldn't hold it in any longer. The frustration, the hurt, the uncertainty, it all came spilling out. "Why won't you talk to me?" I cried, tears streaming down my face. "I feel like I'm losing you, and I don't know what to do." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and guilt. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean to make you feel this way." "Then tell me what's going on," I pleaded. "Please, I need to understand." He took a deep breath, his shoulders slumping. "I don't know how to explain it," he admitted. "I just feel disconnected. It's not about you, it's about me. I feel like I'm not the same person I used to be, and I don't know how to fix it." His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their truth. I could see the pain in his eyes, the struggle he was facing. It wasn't just about sex. It was about something deeper, something that went beyond the physical. In that moment, I realized that this wasn't just about me or our relationship. It was about him, about his own battles and insecurities. I needed to be there for him, to support him, even if it meant putting my own fears and doubts aside. "I love you," I said softly, reaching out to touch his cheek. "And I'm here for you, no matter what. We can get through this together." He looked at me, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Thank you," he said, his voice cracking. "I don't know what I'd do without you." From that moment on, we made a conscious effort to reconnect, to talk openly and honestly about our feelings. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments of frustration and doubt. But we were both committed to making it work, to finding a way back to each other. Our journey wasn't a smooth one. There were setbacks and challenges, moments of doubt and frustration. But through it all, we held on to each other, determined to rebuild the intimacy and connection we had once shared. Slowly but surely, we began to find our way back to each other. It wasn't a quick fix, and it took time and effort from both of us. But as we learned to communicate better, to understand each other's needs and fears, our relationship grew stronger. We started to rediscover the spark that had brought us together in the first place, the love and desire that had once burned so brightly. It wasn't always easy, and there were still days when the shadows of doubt crept in, but we faced them together, hand in hand, knowing that we were stronger as a team. Our journey was far from over, but we had taken the first steps towards healing, towards rebuilding the intimacy that had once defined our relationship. And in those moments of connection, of shared vulnerability, we found a renewed sense of hope, a belief that we could overcome any obstacle as long as we faced it together. Our story was one of resilience and love, of finding our way back to each other even when the path seemed uncertain. It was a reminder that relationships are not always perfect, but they are worth fighting for. And as we moved forward, I knew that we would continue to face the challenges together, with love and understanding guiding us every step of the way.